through the internet to find more about your degree doesn't really give you the practical experience, idea of exposure, and that is where Sandra comes in. What role or what opportunities and programs are there for us who are still in school or just recently done with school? Thank you. Oh, and the question about energy transition. For me, from the traditional production and consumption of the fossil fuel and sustainable energy sources to more sustainable energy sources such as solar and wind. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And yes, your last comment, I will from the youth perspective. Thank you so much. So perhaps we start with Baraza. I think you had a question on capital and finance. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. Thank you for those questions. There's a question that Geoffrey asked. So the second part of your question, because I think the first part was to DG. The second part on the government, academia, and private sector nexus. So there's a company that I think all of us should try and study, and this is actually a company that I'm trying to study. It's called BYD. I'm sure many of us know it. So BYD actually has now overtaken Tesla as the company that manufactures the largest number of electric vehicles in the world. And the CEO is called Wang Chuanfu. So they call him the Elon Musk of China. And it's a long story, but what I just want to highlight about BYD is that it's a classical case of collaboration between government, research, and private sector. Because private sector is looking for returns for its investors. Government is looking at macroeconomic issues, job employment, welfare, social infrastructure, and academia is looking for knowledge generation or knowledge brokerage. And a company like BYD provides all three. And there are so many companies in Kenya that I see that provide all those three elements that academia can benefit, government can benefit, and also the private sector can benefit. So there's a big opportunity there, and that's why I'm quite excited about forums like this, because it provides the opportunity to make that connection. So that research is not just done for the sake of research, and private sector is not just isolated. So for example, our colleague from MGAS, when he needs data, he should be able to get that data from somewhere. Then just to speak briefly about the question that you asked, Sandra, and I'm really glad that you asked that question together with John Mark. When I hear young people speak like this, I'm quite excited. And in fact, just as Prof said, I think the future belongs to Africa because of the young people. We have the youth dividend, and that is better than any critical mineral, that's better than any technology. The challenge I put across to the youth is nobody's going to give you an opportunity because you are young. So we should get rid of that idea. We can't go to a company and you say, give me an opportunity because I'm young. That doesn't fly. You have to demonstrate an ability to learn, to add value, and to contribute. Because like the young people in our office, they teach us things, about technology, about TikTok, about how do you post things on LinkedIn. There are things that I don't know, and there are things that I know and that they don't know. So the youth get plugged in when you demonstrate value. What breaks my heart sometimes is some of the applications we get, even just sentence construction is a problem. The way the CV is structured is a problem. So you ask yourself, how can I give an opportunity to this person that I do not know, yet the CV is not even properly constructed? So I would say the youth is a dividend that we have, but the youth also have to prepare themselves to demonstrate that they can add value to this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Prof, over to you. And the question, I believe, was regarding partnerships. But feel free, panelists, to answer any of the questions that you have had according to your interest areas.
Okay, thank you. The first thing I wanted to say is that where is the money? You see? Now we know that National Research Fund is here. They are giving 5 0.5% of the budget of Kenya to research and innovation. So they have a National Research Fund. Then they have Kenya, that is Kenya National Innovation Authority. And then you have NACOSTI. Now, my question is, put up your hand. Perhaps you don't want to do so, but I don't know. Who here in this room have applied for money from National Research Fund? 6 years old institution, eh? Yeah. Now, if you didn't put up your hands because you didn't ask, now how can you expect to get something if you don't ask? So I have applied for money from National Research Fund for my scientists. And we have 14 grants from National Research Fund in Strathmore, you see? And then we need more money. Where is more money? There is a place which has a lot of money. It's called abroad. So we also go abroad, you see? There's those people out there and tell them, I need money, here is my concept. And European Union has a lot of money, but a lot. I can't even think those figures. But they want more partnership with the South, with us. They created something called Erasmus Plus. They give you money for transport, for accommodation, for insurance, for everything. If you say you are going to talk to Imperial College, okay, to discuss clean cooking, or Loughborough University. They give you, who here has asked for money from Imperial College, from European Union? Okay, I have. They are supporting one project called Ambition, that is Ambassadors for the Energy Transition, PhD capacity building. There is another one called One Planet, that is the Nexus, water, food, and energy. They gave money. We are in it with partners in the Europe and in Africa. And finally, a third one is called Just Green Africa, which we are doing the green hydrogen study here with support from Kihara there, from the ministry, yes, and so forth. So please, if you are not part of the solution, you are part of the problem. That is it. We have to learn how to look at the mirror in the morning and see that that individual is the sole responsible for all your miseries and also all your successes, isn't it? And besides, you know, my students in Strathmore, they are not my clients. I don't try to please them. They have to obey even the dress code, you know, until they enjoy going on jacket. We insist, you know. So they are not my clients. My clients are you people who employ them. Then I go there and I ask Schneider, I know you have 23 of my students helping you here, making money for you. Please, give me a scholarship. They give, or give me equipment because they have. They give. So is what my brother had says. You have a value proposition. I'm young, give me money. Come on. Doesn't make any sense. He said it won't fly. I guarantee you it will not fly. But you go there and says, look, Kipto, I'm going to change your life because I know how to create you a fantastic profile for you in Orchid and poems, and then I will work with you so that you will have 5 papers published in top journals. Aha, now we are talking. Yeah, how much you cost, you know? I'm ready to pay. So this is important. We can't be crying babies, you know. So the things are there. And if you have a good idea, money comes after you running, like you had mentioned. So that's what I say, that I want. And then the other thing is ignorance is very, very, very bad. It gives us a lot of trouble. I don't know if you knew, but IBM has created a platform, a digital platform, where they are training people. It is called Skill Build. You go there, if you are an African, you register to do anything you want, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, cloud computing, Python language, big data and analysis, you name it. For free. You are not, for free you register, for free you attend classes, for free you sit for exams and cuts, and you get badges and certificates, and they even put a coach for you to make you make your growth professionally. Did you know that? Paulson, yes, someone told me, I saw it is there. And we have more than 500 of our students in Strasbourg doing that, you know. So it's very important that we say, inside out, I begin with myself. And anyway, I have something to say about innovation, but let me give the chance to others. If you want, moderator.
No, please continue. These are your spilling words of wisdom.
So the innovation. It is so important to know. You know, Peter Drucker says, we do two things in your life, and I repeat it now, go. No, innovate, and then communicate. Again, go innovate, communicate. So, and it works all the time. Now we say, let's start Ideas Festival. This is the third year that Strathmore has this thing. And Melba, I think you are the one who planted the little seed there. Now it's becoming a tree. You know what happens, we say innovation, you have to be daring, you know, and then you have to team up with other people. So what we are doing over these 3 years, we say, let's look for people who know how to do innovation so that we do it together. We went to University College Dublin. Those guys, they have 300 patents average per year over the last 15 years. Can you imagine?
Wow.
300. Strathmore in its 16 years of university have 4 patents. 4. They have 300 every year. So I say, can I team up with you? They say, yes, come. Because they didn't have one partner from Africa, you know. Then we went across to Notre Dame in Indiana, you know, United States of America. And then we signed a partnership with Notre Dame, you know, just south of Chicago there. And they are incredible. The whole university goes around innovation. They don't do Netflix. They don't do, you know, Premier League. They don't do video game. They design, they create things, you know, and then they get money. They have come across a unicorn, they sell it. We said, can you work with you? They said, absolutely. Guess what? We have one lady, Dr. Aridi, working with us, paid by Notre Dame to further the cause of innovation with an African taste, you see? Wow. And finally, the third one is we just got, anyway, cut the details, KTH, biggest university in Sweden, in Stockholm. They are helping us to develop something called Global Development Hub, design thinking, tree of knowledge, innovation as a path to education. The beauty of it is now, it will come, that everybody who apply for an innovation, the group can be between 3 and 6. 3, you will have 1 African, 1 European, and 1 American. It is multiracial also. They can be 6, 2 of each country, and so forth. So this is very important. If you are not innovating, please begin. Just throw away the 3 stone stoves of your grandmother. Give her an electric pressure cooker, 7K in Carrefour. And I have no money from them. I'm not advertising Carrefour. I'm telling you, be part of the solution for a greener planet. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Bwana Kipto. Over to you. I think you had a few questions on welders, on local content, and knowledge and dissemination.
I think the first one was from Geoffrey, who was asking about whether EPRA could look into certification of welders and whether prior knowledge of welders and how we can be able, excuse me, how we can be able to regulate that. I think this is a process because today there was a big opportunity in terms of certification of welders. I know PIA undertakes some certification courses. There is also, I think, Ruto Lioba who's doing something as well in that space. There is also KPC at the Morandat School who are doing certification. We have recently reviewed the LPG regulation, Legal Notice 100. We are now bringing manufacturers into the regulatory fold. We haven't brought in technicians. If you look on the electricity side, we certify, train, and license electrical technicians and electrical workers. But I think that's a conversation we can have. But for now, I don't think we're in a space where we could get into licensing, but probably it's a conversation we could have in terms of standardizing the training between those who are already doing it today, and eventually then see whether in the next regulatory cycle we can be able to introduce certification and licensing for welders. You had a second question around local content, which is really our mandate as well, in terms of developing standards for local content. We are currently developing regulations for local content. You'd appreciate that there isn't a one-size-fits-all when it comes to local content, particularly noting that we regulate both electricity and oil and gas, and even in oil and gas, local content from an upstream standpoint will be very different when it comes to mid to downstream as well. So, but we are in the course of developing those regulations. And you also had a question around how do we adopt and technology from the global north and then apply it in the global south. I think as Murefo was saying, one of the big opportunities that China has utilized, and India as well, a lot of, when you talk to Silicon Valley and the tech that was happening there, they're now all in Bangalore, in India. And Bangalore has overtaken Silicon Valley in California. So I think when you talk to issues of technology and innovation, and how do you take technology of the global north to global south, like the Chinese have had a lot of problems with the global north because they have picked their technology, they have adapted it and suited it to local circumstance. And I think that is also one of the issues when you speak to adaptability of our technology. How can you develop local homegrown solutions? From us, just to give an example, from EPRA, there is a lot of innovation. There's a gentleman in Muranga County who's developed a hydro power plant, Magiro Hydro. And he started from scratch with no university education. As a technician, built a plant, and the money followed, and the technology also followed. And this is somebody today who has a PPA with the utility Kenya Power, approved by us as the regulator, who is supplying local households in Muranga County. And I think that's the kind of opportunity where you could be able to pick up local technology, fit it to local circumstances. We have KIPI in the country. You could be able to patent your technology and be able then to secure it going forward. I think Patrick had talked about an opportunity around partnership in terms of manufacture or local manufacturing. Those are opportunities already that are in place. You are seeing a lot of special economic zones coming up in the country. Opportunities, if you look, for instance, in the EV market where you have tax incentives for semi-knockdown or complete knockdown kits, those assembly happening in Kenya. For me, I see that as a precursor. Once you start with local assembly, then you will then get to local manufacturing. Because today we will not say, today we want to manufacture geothermal wellhead in country. But if we start doing the local assembly here, then we do the O&M, then lastly, you will then do the local manufacture. There is another opportunity, which personally, from where I sit, where academia particularly and research can play a space, is on labs. And I think, Prof, maybe when you look at universities, there is a lot of testing laboratories when it comes to equipment, when it comes to transformer testing, factory acceptance tests, testing of petroleum products. I know the refinery KPRL, when pipe in KPRL, they came and developed a lab which is today being used when it comes to testing of petroleum products. There's an opportunity again in academia when you talk to research in terms of testing. And this then talks to the other side of academia, which a lot of other universities need to play catch up, is how do you commercialize some of those labs that you have in universities to bring revenue streams that can then be plowed back to then fund research. I think Sandra had asked a question, and Fabian. I think let me deal with Fabian's first. When you talk to LPG and data, in terms of filling plants, there's a lot of data on filling plants. Ours to then collect information and statistics. In the regulation, we were requiring the licensees to submit data. These are sales data, so that then we can be able to track that. But applying technology and going forward, we'll be requiring that the cylinders coming into the market have RFID technology. Then we'll be able to use technology to track that cylinder from manufacturer all the way to the home. And with that, then we'll have the data, and working with people like Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, which could be able to be packaged for industry and also for us as a regulator, for you to be able to make decisions when it comes to investment, which markets then you want to go to. I think there was also another question around access to data, particularly for researchers, and where that data is not available, maybe on an account of national security. I do agree that that's one of the problems that has been there, particularly from mainstream government and mainstream public service. And I think it's a mindset issue going around again to the issue of youth, where an intern needs to come into an organization and sit in a corner. You're there to be seen, not to be heard. And a lot of that is a problem that has existed in the public service. And a lot of us are trying to change that mindset. I think also from a legal standpoint, the issues with respect to access to information, which actualizes the provisions of our Constitution with respect to access to information, is also going to play a big role. But I think there's a lot of sensitization, I do agree, that we, from a government standpoint, need to do to allow that data is then properly utilized. But again, it has to be done within the confines of confidentiality and also responsible use, because then also sometimes some of that data is commercially sensitive, that you may be concerned that data could end up in the wrong hands and then become a challenge to the country. I think the other question came from the last three speakers around youth, and I think this has been spoken to by the first two speakers, and how youth need to be given opportunities. And I think for us, as I said earlier on, we work in an organization which is fairly youthful. I stopped considering myself youthful. I used to think I was a youth. Now I've become old, 40 years old now. So legally I can't take credit to be youthful prof. But I'm a big advocate for the youth. But I do agree with Murefu particularly because there is no right to get anything in this world, whether it is personally or professionally, because you're young. It is an issue of your ability, being able to demonstrate your ability, and as they say, put your money where your mouth is. So there is a lot of access to funding. And I think there's a big challenge. You know, Prof, when you speak here, Melba, and I think for an university that's not very old, 15, 16 years, Strathmore has done very well. But I think there is a lot of questions. The questions that have come from the interns, the students who have asked questions, I think they've done well. We struggle a lot, particularly for us who are in a business also managing people. Particularly what we are calling now the Gen Zs, Gen Alpha. It's tough. So for you who are in this room, I think you're already doing the good thing. You are here. You've availed yourself. As a prof is saying, you're not on TikTok, or you're not at home, waiting for your parents to do something for you, or you're not playing PlayStation. You've actually taken the initiative to be here, and for me, that's 50% of the job. Because not a lot of your peers are actually doing that, which is credible. So I think the next thing is, how do you then pick up and take, particularly if you have a technical background, learn about the business, be able to talk to those who are in these spaces to provide the opportunities. And all those opportunities are far and few between. If you come, for instance, to EPRA, we have very few opportunities when it comes to attachment, when it comes to internship, and not everybody could be accommodated. How do you then not rely on those very few opportunities, but create opportunities for yourself? And I think that's what is coming from this side of the table at the panel.
Thank you.
It's important that you're able to create those opportunities for yourself. You're able to package well when you're talking about a CV, when you're talking about a proposal. How do you package yourself to be able to benefit from these opportunities? I know sometimes it's a challenge, particularly for those who are in public universities. How do you then deal with these issues, particularly when those who are in academia are struggling also with their own struggles, government is not paying them, and things like those. There is an opportunity when you look at student associations. Personally, I see a big opportunity with student associations to be able to structure themselves, to be able then to engage with those who have the resources, to be able to support you. That can be done directly, indirectly. I know people like Prof would be happy to sit with you and point you in the right direction, so that then you don't also over-rely on the university. You also be able to pick your research through your associations, be able to link with those who are out there, and be able then to make your opportunities a reality. But again, I just want to thank those who made the opportunity to be able to be here, to be able to articulate their positions, because that's 50% of the job.
Thank you so much, Bwana DG. And just picking up from that, in one of the points that has been made here is that we need to highlight our innovators. Kindly, can we find out the name of the Muranga man? Because just referring to him as Muranga man, can we start that conversation there? And then, Makiro, alafu mumweke kwa website vizuri. Because I think my sister there made the point of exposure. If I'd not been sitting here today, I would not have known about the Muranga man. But I don't want to leave this place without knowing his name. At least, and I think all of us have the same feeling. Because if we start there, then maybe more and more of our young people will also be motivated to go ahead and innovate. God knows what will come from it. Asante Sana, thank you. That was a great example. And finally, Daktari, I think you had a question on partnerships, but feel free to answer on any that strikes you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think when it comes to supporting energy transition, I think all of us, we have a stake in it. So I think it's not just about the government or just the main actors. I think each and every person, part of us, we need to really contribute to the space. And there's a question that I think one of us has actually asked. What is the role of a young person in this space? So I think, you see, we're talking of a partnership that actually involves not just the big companies that we have out there, but also even to the common Mwananchi who is actually with us. And for instance, look at a youth. So for youth, I see they have a lot of things that actually they can actually bring on the table. So I see one, they have actually the big, the best brain when it comes to innovation. If you do a quick survey of most of the innovations that that have actually been reported, you see most of them actually coming from young people, university students, and all that. So we have a role to play in terms of being innovators, and more importantly, being ambassadors. So DG talked about let's not just wait and wait for things to happen. So can we also practice, use that energy, in terms of being ambassadors of this energy transition. So, and I think we're all connected in terms of even our families, and we can actually start, spreading that message. I think that would be very, very important. Now, I also find one of the things that perhaps the youth are saying they are not part of it has to do maybe with awareness. Prof talked about so many opportunities out there. So how do we make young people to be much aware of the available opportunities, available funding opportunities? So I think perhaps we may need to be organizing a lot of these kind of forums, and even also use other channels so that the message can actually be spread to the young ones, because I think we are going to be. I mean, we have a stake into this. Now, coming back now to the key players. So how do we bring everyone, especially the key players like the private sector, the academia, the public agencies, to work together? So I know there is the National Treasury, there is a public-private, partnership framework, which I think is very, very instrumental in guiding this. And I think perhaps we need to really roll out, spread the message to anyone, any potential investor, whether they're in any space, so that they can actually come in and contribute to this. But I think again also, institutions like EPRA, they are all free and they're open to listen and also to accept the proposals, so that we can actually be able to contribute to the space that we are in. Finally, I want also to talk about perhaps on data. I know data, especially for national surveys, it's something that involves a lot of resources. So don't worry about for 2019. I think if you look at that survey that was done by KNBS 2019, the budget-wise is quite huge. So doing national surveys, I think it's really very demanding. But I'm happy because I think DG talked about embracing technology. Now that we are continuously embracing technology, RFID, use of Internet of Things, having self-defined applications, like what actually you're going to see with e-mobility. Those guys are also, they have software element into it. So I find that data will also going to be, we are going to have better ways of collecting data, and I think platforms and opportunities are there, so that we can actually now be able to bridge this gap of having a 2019 and whereas we are in 2024. So data availability actually will be tackled by technology. Thank you.
Asante sana. I think we can agree that that was, they have answered all the questions and gone over and above. In the interest of time, I will not be able to take more questions except for one burning one. You know, the one that's just burning, you cannot leave this place and has not already been discussed. And because gender rules, Madam Puta, now I've got a young lady. I think no. I will override that because we've heard from young women. Can we, not that you're not young, young at heart and whatever it is, kindly, if you don't mind, let me give you this opportunity. Madam.
Okay, thank you. Mine is not really a question.
Okay.
My name is Anne Kiprotich. I'm in the advocacy and public education area, transitioning from governance, education to energy, education and advocacy issues. So a lot has been said around issues of energy transition, innovation, and looking at the room, we have the youth occupying most of the seats today, and I want to appreciate them. So mine is just to call on the youth so that we can partner together in terms of picking their innovative ideas. How can we use this as a platform for advocacy, because they play a very critical role when it comes to advocating for clean, efficient and cost-effective and even sustainable energy. So I recall that we had an engagement with the students of petroleum engineering from Kenyatta University recently. And I would want to urge all the youth gathered today to reach out to the authority. Probably I didn't say where I work. I'm in the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority. Please reach out to us so that we can be able to pick those ideas and we walk this journey together. Thank you so much. And maybe from the panelists, maybe you could share with us some of the areas through which we can tap into when it comes to building stronger advocacy initiatives, particularly with the focus of changing attitude and behavior. Prof talked a lot about SHOSH in the analogy of the koroboi. We really want to move the space and ensure that we are transitioning effectively and ensuring that everyone is on board. What are some of the strategies that we can use to strengthen the advocacy space? Thank you.
Asante sana. I think she's done us a wonderful service. Madam, can I kindly ask you to stand? And then wave around the room. Let everybody see you. Please. You see, today we've been told to harness opportunity, get the opportunities. She has extended a wonderful hand to say, we want to work young people. So please, after this, usiondoke, just mama pale kwa blango na business cards. Young people, over to you. You know what to do. Sindio? Okay, now as we are answering her questions, I'd like to give each of you about 2 minutes as you're giving your parting shots and concluding this panel session. I want to start with a young person on the panel, because I wanted to give her an opportunity to hear as many from young people as possible and give us your comments as we close out. Thank you, Sandra.
All right, thank you so much for the opportunity. Maybe I shall just say it won't be fair enough for me to leave the stage without maybe a concrete action plan. I have to mention that we have a community of young energy enthusiasts called the Energy Zealers, and it is a community of young people who are really passionate about the energy sector. So I think maybe for next year, for this conference, we can even have a day where we can have, young people who have innovative ideas, have maybe an afternoon or a morning session or a whole day to showcase whatever we have. I think it is also good enough if we can have more young people to speak so that you, as the stakeholders, as the industry leaders, you can hear us and what you have to say. Allow me to respond to the question that one of my colleagues, mentioned about how we can be empowered, how we can get exposed. From my point of view, I have honestly grabbed opportunities from online. Let me give you a context. For example, last year during the Youth Energy Summit, there are so many energy stakeholders who came through. Maybe just to give all of us an example, you have the Global Energy People and Planet, you have Sustainable Energy for All, who have amazing youth-led programs in the energy sector. As a parting shot, I would say visibility is currency and career. Visibility is currency and silent hard work is career suicide. That is what has made me stood out.
Have you heard that? Wonderful. Thank you. Tafadhali Bwana.
Yeah, thanks, Sandra, for those comments. And actually, I want to pick it up from just where you stopped. To the question that someone had asked on the youth, I don't know whether it was you, John Mark. Let me just give an example, because I think sometimes examples concretize ideas. This year we were doing a training in Kampala on how to support local nonprofits to access climate finance. And in that workshop, there's a young man who stood up and made some comments on artificial intelligence and prompt engineering. So I got to hear about prompt engineering the first time from this young man in a workshop in Uganda. This young man is about 25 years old. So after the workshop, I talked to him, I asked him his name, I asked him some more questions on prompt engineering. And the long story short, we invited him to come and train us here in Kenya, to train the entire company on prompt engineering. He's 25 years old. But he did the training so well that actually now we offered him a job.
Well done.
He's 25 years old. He's Ugandan. He's working in Kenya. So the point is, young people, when we talk about demonstrating value, you have so many opportunities, like Sandra is saying, because you have this guy, and you have other online, you have the ability to get online and to learn and to teach yourself. This young man, he's self-taught. We didn't ask him, show us your transcripts, give us your university degree. We didn't ask any of that. He is now working with us to mainstream AI in our processes. And he's 25 years old. So that's an example, and it's a challenge to the young people. And like I say, the youth dividend is the biggest asset we have as a country and as a continent. And for me, I know the challenges are many, but there's nowhere else I would rather be in the world than in this place that we are right now, because of the very many opportunities that the environment provides for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Prof?
So what you just said is that the best place in the world is here, and the best time in the world is now, isn't it? Very nice. Okay, I want to give two more suggestions for you young people in this room to try. One is there is an institution called KCIC, not to be confused with the KICC. Okay, KCIC is Kenya Climate Innovation Center. Yeah. Okay, it was started some 12 years ago. Was a project that Stratma was heading with the PwC, KIRD, and GVEP, no longer living. And but we help young people to do business and to cross the valley of death and come successful on the other side. Please contact KCIC. Until last week, I was the chairman of board of directors. I'm no longer, after 10 years. But I tell you, go in there, find and talk. Send 200 words to them. They will reply to you, and you begin the journey. That is number one. Number two, Sandra, you may like to know that we trained some ladies, women, on solar installation, design, etc. Okay, design, installation, maintenance. When the people from USA gave us the money and they got the certificate, they agreed to form an institution to help women in energy. It's called WISE, Women in Sustainable Energy and Entrepreneurship. Look for them in the net. Those are the two things. Then, Melba, your idea of asking each and everyone to say what is energy transition is brilliant, isn't it? Because everybody stands up, has to say something. I tell you, as a professor, I say what is sustainable energy transition myself, and I call it a day. No? So there are three things. First, decarbonization. Whoever, you see, Melba, mining, they do a lot of fossil fuels business, and then they are greening The green hydrogen will green the mining sector in Kenya to begin with, in the region and in Africa, and globally, isn't it? So the first thing is decarbonization. You will see that is a 3D revolution. The first D is decarbonization. The second D is decentralization. The idea that you can produce your electricity here and consume it here. Just think about Bamburi, Mombasa. You don't need the power from Olkaria to cross that thing, have a lot of losses, isn't it? Or you send to Kisumu. You go here, Narok, Bonnet. You know, when you reach Kisumu, it is now, if it were eggs, 100 eggs, 26, broken, because of the transmission and distribution poorly supported, and then you have a problem. Put it there. So the second D is decentralization. There are many ESCOs, energy service companies, who can put for you a solar system in your compound, cheaper than what my brothers in Kenya Power charge, yes? And if you don't have the money, just sign a PPA with them, power purchase agreement. You pay the electricity which you are going to consume. Quisha, you don't need investment capital, and it's 30 to even 40% cheaper than what the utility does. And the third D is called digitalization. You know, I'm a BBC, meaning born before the computer. So I'm really not so good at this stuff, though I'm trying to catch up, yeah? But the digitalization is the thing. You know, you have, if you are a company, Kenya Power, for instance, they should digitalize the whole of their assets. Each and every transformer, switch gears, or capacitor bank has to be a digital twin element. And then I can be in Bolivia, and I go to my computer and I change the calibration of a transformer here in Alcaria. I make more money because there is less things out. So these 3 Ds are actually what we say energy transition. I am passionate about it. I talk about it. You know, it is amazing. But decarbonization, decentralization, digitalization, and do it beginning by yourself, your own family, stuff like that. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think for me, it's just to try and bring it home in terms of the Research and Innovation Conference. And I think this panel really has been able to demonstrate the need for research and innovation in driving the energy transition. When we started the panel, the question was, are there challenges or are there opportunities? I think what is quite clear is there are so many opportunities, but it needs impetus, it needs action. You need to get up and get it done. And there's a reality that it is not a bed of roses. There are challenges, but it requires the initiative and the impetus, both first at a personal level and then at a collective level. I just want to pick up from what Prof has said, and I think in that spirit of the Research and Innovation Conference, which we're holding today as EPRA, is how do we then bring the partnership? And Prof and I are quite passionate about this, is how do we bring the nexus between government, private sector, and academia? Because that's really where the question is. I know there's a big challenge when he talks to academia, and a lot of us, particularly I struggle, and trying to appreciate why, particularly when you work in an organization and you try to deal with those who are the technical side, particularly the scientists, the engineers, they don't have any interest on the business side. So when you talk to academia, there's not a lot of interface between academia and private sector. And without private sector capital or without entrepreneurs, then the research will not be commercialized. And I think that's a big problem in this country, where there's a lot of good research, where the research ends up in the shelves and never sees light of day. And when it sees light of day, sometimes it's the research that was picked up from here, somebody took it somewhere else and went and patented it. You know, like the Kikoi and such like innovations which have been patented out there, and yet they're innovations which are homegrown in Kenya. So I think that nexus, particularly between academia, government, and private sector, is very important to take this innovation, breathe life into it, fund it, and make money out of it. And I think, as has been said here, is how do you then get up and be able to actualize it? I think the other issue is the issue of technological innovation. When you talk about AI and you talk about IoT, is the only thing constant is change. So even from a practical standpoint, from where we sit, there's a lot of resistance to change, for instance, in the public sector. When you talk to an engineer who's probably talking to one of the young engineers, say, no, I've been doing this thing the same way for the last 30 years. You intern, you young person, sit on the side there. Don't tell me I've been doing this thing for the same way for the last 30 years. But technology is changing, technology is evolving. So I think first is to try and bring that culture of adaptability to research, to new things, to change into government, so that then there is that adaptability. But even for those who are young today, as I said, you may be young today, you'll not be young tomorrow. It's also not to have that rigidity in terms of broadening your knowledge, changing your ideas, not having a fixed mind. But I think my parting shot is, let's make this big and better next year. Let's learn from the lessons that we've learned yesterday. We don't have to wait until next year, as Anna said. For us as the authority, we are happy to be able to sit in between and to matchmake, to be able to pick up those ideas, link them up with those who we know, to be able to actualize that. So that then the conversation will not only be having is, can I do some internship, can I do some attachment, but more importantly is how can we then link your good ideas to real opportunities. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Finally, Daktari, parting shot or comments?
Yeah, thank you. My parting shot is quite brief. Yeah, I think for me, what I find to be very key is three things. One, we need to promote awareness. And this is actually coming from, I think, a number of us. We are not aware of the opportunities that are there. And we can actually tap in there so that we can actually be able to get to where we want in our journey of energy transition. Let's think about that, tapping the opportunities through promoting awareness. And we can only be able to do that by many ways. And one of the best ways, which I also find to be very productive, is through establishment of a community of practices. I don't know, maybe perhaps this is something that we can think about, before we end the conference, or as we move, from this conference to the other one. So let's also think about how do we move the discussions that actually we have actually had today, so that by the time maybe perhaps we are meeting, maybe in a different forum, there are some things that actually we can say there are lessons that we have learned, and there are experiences that we have also gained, and we also comparing notes with our peers. I think this is something that I think we really need to think about. Now, there are nice things that I think have also been highlighted. There are best local practices, by the way, that we need to scale up. I know usually when people talk about best practices, they think about global ones, but I think we also have local ones. Strathmore doing well in terms of energy transition projects. Digi talked about Kengen. So why can't we also think about emulating the scaling up, so that we are also learning from others locally here? Now, my last thing that I also want maybe to say that we also have a lot of opportunities. Issues of data were actually highlighted by so many of us. I know in the past we have actually had issues of data storage and all that. Konza is with us. They have established a data center, which I think should actually be able to house a lot of our data and support almost real-time analysis and all that. So I think for me, there are a lot of opportunities that are actually ahead of us. It's only just, it's all about our strategies of tapping them so that we can be able to move forward. Thank you.
Asanteni sana, makofi tafadhali. And just so that we can remind ourselves of the gravity of what we have had here today from our panelists. Mr. Daniel Kiptor, Director General, EPRA, lawyer by training and energy specialist by trade. and chair of the Regional Association of Energy Regulators for Eastern and Southern Africa, Professor Isael da Silva, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Innovation, Strathmore University. But halt, also UNESCO, Chairholder, Climate Change Resilience and Sustainability. Bwana Murefu Baraza, Founder and Managing Partner, EED Advisory, also the Chairperson of the Kenya Renewable Energy Association. Last but not least, Dr. Humphrey Njogu, 18 years with EPRA, the leading public think tank in Kenya that we are very proud of, Head of Infrastructure and Economic Services Department, and has published worldwide in authoritative journals. And I said last but not least, but no, let me go to Miss Sandra, our panelist, youth panelist extraordinaire. I think we can agree she has held her own. And so please, another round of applause for our panelists today. And as we close out this session, a few things I've picked out. One, challenges and opportunities in energy transition coexist, okay? We need to face the challenges, and then we need to pick up the opportunities. There is definitely and must be a nexus between government, private sector, and academia in order for us to drive our people forward. Third, data-driven policy, which then gives birth to practice, is a clarion call for a lot of us here today. And finally, we've heard this before, and thank you, I'm gonna pick that up. Youth is a dividend. Youth is energy, transition itself. We are watching you as you're going on. But perhaps I want us to challenge what the word youth means. I know we talked about energy transition, but surely, my fellow Kenyans, I think it is greatly unfair to pit a 22-year-old from university with a 35-year-old mother of 4 children and all call them youth. I think part of that is where there's confusion. Let us be honest. And perhaps youth, as people are busy advocating for constitutional changes in whatever manner, this is your space. Because by the time you get to 35 or the mother of 4, it becomes a different story, okay? Utakuwa umepita na wakati, it has been said here. But nonetheless, I believe the organizers of this conference have been challenged. Can we please have a youth in energy panel next year? Or even a whole day, tukutane kwa grounds, even tunasema, tuzungumze maneno yetu, so that together we can see what we want to advocate for and how best we can engage these energy luminaries that we have here, because they've got great ideas, but quite frankly, they've got their own tasks to carry out. So it's upon us, it's upon you, young people, to come up, and hopefully the organizers will give the young people that legis and enable them to have that. Even a cocktail, Bwana Kiptoa tutakata, call us for a networking youth in energy cocktail as a precursor to the conference. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the privilege. I have thoroughly enjoyed being a moderator, and thank you very much, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Asanteni sana. All the best.
Another round of applause to our energy luminaries and to Dr. Melba for steering such an engaging conversation. I'd kindly ask that you please remain on stage for a token of appreciation from our team and a group photo. So as they take their photo, after this we will go on. Okay, so as they do the photo, after this, kindly use the door to my right, which is your left, for a cup of tea. And I will also ask Dr. Mutua to lead our guests to take a tour in the exhibition booth. And I have not forgotten, I still have a gift for those of you who will answer my questions during the trivia. So please take a walk and visit our exhibition booths, which are to your extreme right. Thank you. So the health break will be 30 minutes. Please be seated by 12:40 for the interest of time. I can see Engineer Kihara. We are running a bit behind schedule. We apologize for that. Kindly grab your cup of coffee or tea. Asante sana.